Right now, on our Indiana, the Hoosier football team got their first Big Ten win of the season, and the first for head coach Tom Allen.
And IU men's basketball tipped off their 2017-2018 season this past weekend with the debut of new head coach Archie Miller.
All that and so much more. Our Indiana starts right now.
Hello and welcome to Our Indiana. I'm Dan Black.
And I'm Joe Canter.
Our first story tonight, after an exciting Big Ten tournament weekend, the IU men's soccer team traveled to Westfield, Indiana Sunday to face off against the number 24 ranked Wisconsin Badgers for the Big Ten tournament title. The Hoosiers' road to the final was a rocky one. After having their opening round game against Penn State pushed back to Monday due to tornado warnings, the Hoosiers secured a 1-0 victory in overtime. On Friday, though, IU blanked Ohio State 4-0 to advance to Sunday's championship versus Wisconsin. The Hoosiers and the Badgers battled it out from the opening kick, but without much success. IU is the more dominant team offensively as they outshot Wisconsin 9-3 in the first half, but couldn't find the back of the net. The second half was similar with 8 IU shots to 3 for Wisconsin. The offensive pressure was to no avail as the top 25 teams couldn't notch a goal in regulation. In overtime, the Hoosiers were dominant offensively, getting off 6 shots while not allowing 1 for Wisconsin. Again, they couldn't muster up a goal. It took a second overtime to find a winner, but it was much of the same as the match headed to shootouts. Unfortunately for IU, missed opportunities would lead to Wisconsin defeating the Hoosiers 4-2 in shootouts to take the title. The Hoosiers had to wait until November 13th to learn their fate in the NCAA tournament.
IU women's basketball looked to open up their regular season Saturday on a high note as they hosted the Arkansas State Red Wolves. It was all Hoosiers all the time as they dominated all afternoon. After just one quarter, IU gained a 16-point lead. It was much of the same in the second quarter as IU would shoot 50% from the field, taking a 56-26 lead into the locker room. The Wolves were run over early in this one by an out-of-control bus. Senior Tyra Buss, that is. She finished the first half on fire as she put up 23 points, and much like the song, she kept rolling round and round in the second half as well, as the Hoosiers cruised to a 93-51 win. Both Tyra Buss and fellow senior Amanda Cahill finished with double-doubles. Buss with 28 points and 11 assists, while Cahill scored 13 points and grabbed 12 rebounds. While the women's basketball team was able to secure that win to start the season, the men's team looked to do the same when they hosted the Sycamores of Indiana State on Friday. And our Zan Piarli has more from Assembly Hall.
There was optimism and excitement in the air as the Hoosiers began a new era of Indiana basketball. But then it quickly faded. Indiana State went 10 of 15 from beyond the arc in the first half, and Indiana found themselves down 21 at the break.
Knew coming into the game how difficult it was going to be. Understood that they had a lot of pieces in there that were going to give us some trouble. An incredible shooting performance. Hats off to those guys. They came in and did the job. No excuses.
The Hoosiers themselves could never put a run together as they shot just 22% from 3 and turned the ball over 19 times, resulting in 34 Sycamore points. That combination led to the first IU home opening loss in 33 years.
Offensively, we never got the ball moving. We never moved it from side to side and got, second and third side actions. And, when that happens, it makes the offensive flow stagnant, so to speak. And a lot of the shots were tough shots, and we just never got into a rhythm until late into the game.
Obviously, this wasn't the start Indiana was looking for to begin their season with a loss against Indiana State tonight. But Archie Miller said this is a reality check for his team.
We're soft.
How frustrating is that?
We're soft we're just a soft team. You don't have to sugarcoat it at all. We have to go through these battles like we did tonight, and we got to get better from it and find a way to have some good possessions on both ends. But I just think in general, our resolve, the toughness, you're not going to give up 90 points at home in your home opener if you're playing hard as hell.
Although Archie Miller became the first IU head coach to lose his debut since 1924, Indiana must move on from this loss quickly as they play Howard on Sunday. For our Indiana, I'm Zan Piarli.
It was a big weekend for IU basketball head coach Archie Miller as he picked up his first win during his tenure at the university. The team bounced back from a tough opening loss against Indiana State, but much like that game, this one wasn't all that pretty for Hoosier fans. Howard University started off strong and gave IU its share of fits early. It didn't help when Jawan Morgan had to leave the game due to injury after playing only 5 minutes. You see him gingerly stepping off the court here. For the Bison, R.J. Cole dropped 27 points, going 5 of 8 from three-point range, absolutely on fire from beyond the arc. Howard outperformed the Hoosiers doing the little things, their free throw percentage a solid 46 points higher than Indiana's. They also racked up more second chance points. But the Hoosiers' talent did have some flashes. Robert Johnson tossing the alley-oop to freshman Justin Smith, and Deron Davis throwing his weight around down low as the Hoosiers grind out a W behind a double-figure scoring efforts from Davis and Robert Johnson.
After failing to pick up a Big Ten win this season, the IU football team traveled to Champaign, Illinois to face off against the Illinois Fighting Illini last Saturday. The Illini, much like the Hoosiers, were looking for their first conference victory. After a Morgan Ellison 2-yard touchdown run, IU scored again as Ian Thomas caught a touchdown from Richard Lego with a minute left in the half. Hoosiers up 14-0. The Illini got on the board in the third as Jeff George launched a 77-yard bomb to Lewis Dorsey. 14-7 now. After a Griffin Oaks field goal put the Hoosiers up 10, Illinois fought back when Caleb Reams snagged a 14-yard touchdown. The Hoosiers would answer back with a TD by Simi Cobbs, giving Indiana the 24-14 victory and their first in the Big Ten. The Hoosiers now shift their focus to the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, who they'll host next Saturday at noon.
The number 1 ranked IU men's and number 9 ranked IU women's swimming and diving teams earned 3 team victories in a double dual meet last Thursday when they hosted the number 13 and number 18 ranked Notre Dame teams, as well as the teams from the University of Cincinnati. The stars for the Hoosiers were Olympians Blake Peroni, Allie Rocket, and Lily King, who all won 3 individual events on the day, setting the pace for Indiana. On the day, IU won 15 individual events and 3 of the 4 relays. You can next catch both the men's and the women's teams back in action on November 16th through the 18th at the Early Bird Invitational held on the campus of Purdue University.
After a romping of Arkansas State Saturday afternoon to open the season, IU women's basketball looked to go 2-0 on the season Tuesday night as they played host to Southern University. There's no such thing as an easy win, and the IU women's basketball team learned that Tuesday night. There was only one way to describe the game.
Aggressive, every possession matters.
Early on, the Hoosiers struggled against a tough Southern team destined to upset the hosts. IU failed to find consistent offense early, missing shot after shot, as well as easy scoring opportunities such as layups and free throws. They also found themselves turning the ball over more times than they'd like, 8 times to be exact. If that wasn't bad enough, IU's defense was less than stellar, as Southern shot 40% from the field before half, while also getting many second-chance opportunities. The second half was much better for IU as they would pick up a scrappy 64-49 win. The Hoosiers found help in the backcourt as freshman Bendu Yaney shined again with another double-digit scoring outing while making her mark on defense.
She just has composure about her and a self-confidence that she doesn't exude, but when you watch her play, you know it's there.
The game was hard-fought, made apparent by one IU player specifically. A bulk of the aggressiveness came from junior forward Kim Royster, who had her coming out game, notching her second career double-double. Royster was doing it all Tuesday night as she scored 14 points while grabbing 15 rebounds. The scoring was important, but for Royster, she was more focused on crashing the glass.
Ready to go in there and rebound. It was just a very physical game on the offensive end, so I just tried to do what I had to do to help us get extra possessions and things like that.
Royster and the Hoosiers will take this tough win into the weekend when they host Western Kentucky Friday at 7 p.m. For Our Indiana, I'm Dan Black. After dropping 4 straight matches, the women's volleyball team looked to steal a win at home against number 10 Wisconsin in what was their first of 5 straight matches against top 25 opponents. The one problem the Hoosiers will face, Dana Retke. The 6'8" freshman has been dominant this season and continued to prove her dominance throughout. While the Hoosiers managed to keep the first 2 sets close, Retke and the rest of the Badgers halted any shot Indiana had to make a game of it, as she ended with 14 kills and helped Wisconsin take the third and final set 25-15. The Hoosiers face an even tougher opponent Saturday, playing host to number 5 Minnesota. Our Spencer Davis has more from Saturday's volleyball game.
Serving was the story in this one, as number 5 Minnesota swept the Indiana Hoosiers in 3 sets Saturday night in Bloomington, registering 10 aces as a team compared to just 1 for Indiana.
I think they came in here with that kind of purpose, is get us uncomfortable right away, target certain people. And it wasn't anything we haven't seen. It was low, flat, jump floaters. But I think once you get in that, I looked at one point, we had 3 freshmen passing, and I think once they got aced a few times, I think they could have served lollipops. But in our mind, that pressure, we didn't handle that very well.
A lot of it just comes with being aggressive and getting our platforms out early and attacking the ball so that we can get a pass up to Tori and she can put the best ball up possible for us to swing at. Because like she said, our hitting was really on tonight. It's just unfortunate that our passing wasn't as great as it was.
Volleyball is often a game of runs, but the Hoosiers were unable to gain momentum until the final set.
When you look at that last set, we were absolutely point for point after 11-1. So it's, there's a belief now that you got to have, and I think that's hard at this point in the season when you're playing, top 10 teams every time we're out right now. But we have to believe a little bit in us too. And when we really battled, I thought there were some really good points for us.
They have a chance to get back on track though Wednesday night as they travel to Penn State to take on the number 1 ranked Nittany Lions.
We're really looking forward to putting our best foot forward and being aggressive no matter who we go out and play, who's on the other side of the court. And really just getting back to having fun and enjoying the game of volleyball.
You can't change the everything that you've done the entire season, and we believe in what we're doing. And so now it's just getting them to believe a little bit in these last few matches that we can start taking sets off of these opponents. We're not even talking about winning. We're talking about get a set first, get some belief and get some confidence in that in the process that we're running.
For Our Indiana, I'm Spencer Davis.
Now, Spencer, it's been a tough season for IU volleyball. Only 1 in-conference win against Rutgers. But as always, next year, what can we expect from IU volleyball in 2018?
This 2018 class is huge in talent and in stature. I mean, they have a 6'5" setter, Courtney Bazzario out of Chino Hills, California, a 6'2" outside hitter in Brianna Edwards coming from Rainier, Oregon, and last but not least, 6'4" middle blocker Lexi Johnson, who's actually the daughter of MLB Hall of Fame pitcher Randy Johnson. So the athleticism is for sure going to be on display come next year.
Yeah, we'll have to hope that Lexi Johnson has the same heat on her serves that her old man had on his fastball.
Yeah, we sure hope so. Thank you, Spencer. But coming up next on Our Indiana, the IU men's soccer team finds out their fate for the NCAA tournament on Selection Monday.
And our Alex Emoff will tell you all about the Candy Stripe Classic, a basketball tournament produced by the Student Athletic Board. Stay with us.
I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Indiana University.
Welcome back to Our Indiana.
Everyone knows about the main sports teams on campus, but our very own Alex Emoff caught up with the student organization who may not get a lot of publicity, but is absolutely essential to the fabric of IU athletics.
There's a hidden gem inside Indiana University athletics that tends to go overseen or even unnoticed.
I'm a staff advisor to the Student Athletic Board, which is comprised of 16 directors. These directors interview for these roles and work sometimes more than 1 year to attain this position.
The Student Athletic Board is the foundation of the Hoosiers student section in unison with the Crimson Guard, and the brains behind student involvement and activation when it comes to IU athletics.
Every year they put on the Candy Stripe Classic, which is a 3v3 tourney. They do it on the floor in Assembly Hall. It kicks off basketball season. So it's a late Friday night. They get in there after both the men's and women's team have had practice. It's completely run by the Student Athletic Board directors. There's a couple chairs that assist them, but they put on the show. We simply unlock the doors.
The Candy Stripe Classic is more than just an opportunity to play on Assembly Hall's hardwood. It gives IU students an opportunity to give back to the community through the Hoosier Hills Food Bank.
Entry is required of 30 canned goods per team, but there's no limit to that. So this year we actually had a record. We had over 12,000 pounds of cans dropped off, which was huge.
While the Student Athletic Board directors sit front row for every athletic event, they put in the time and work with each of the 24 Hoosier sports to deserve such perks.
At field hockey, water polo, swimming, diving, women's soccer, men's soccer, there's a lot of kids that are really enthusiastic and really supportive of IU athletics.
While the Student Athletic Board was thrilled with the turnout, they hope to see a steady increase of participation and donations with each running of the Candy Stripe Classic.
To get involved, any student can email sab@indiana.edu or simply look for a director. They wear red sport coats with a big IU patch on them, and you can typically find them in the front row at any sporting event here on campus, and they'd love to talk to you and help you get involved as a mass member chair and help you work your way up to that director level to get those front row seats.
For Our Indiana, I'm Alex Emoff.
The Indiana men's soccer team gathered in Assembly Hall as the field for the NCAA tournament was unveiled, and our own Zan Piarli was there to capture their reactions.
Selection Monday was a happy one for the IU men's soccer team as players and coaches gathered inside Assembly Hall to find out their postseason tournament fate. They were rewarded with the number 2 overall seed.
We had a good feeling we would be in position for a top 4 seed. Until you see your name up there, that's really reality set in. And the body of work this group has done, I think deserves that.
Indiana is undefeated but 0 for 2 on their first 2 trophies this season, finishing second in the Big Ten regular season and falling to Wisconsin in penalty kicks in the Big Ten Tournament Championship, giving the team a little extra motivation heading into the big dance.
Personally, for me, it made me mad, so I think we'll get out there in the second round with a little bit of an extra edge and throughout the whole tournament. I think that will be in our back pockets that, we don't want to lose.
Just seeing how things turned out and how the season went, I feel like we have a very good chance to make a good run for it, so we're definitely excited for what's to come, and we know that it's not going to be easy, but we definitely worked hard, and there's more hard work ahead.
Now, it wasn't a shock that Indiana was given the number 2 seed in this tournament, and given that top 4 seed, they now have home field advantage all the way through until the College Cup.
What we want to do is take out all the things that we can't control. And a lot of that is if you travel and you have tough environments or climates or field conditions, that's a factor that, may be an equalizer. So when it's at home, everything's there for us, it's familiar, and now we just got to perform.
The top 16 seed gives the Hoosiers a first-round bye, and they will play the winner of Old Dominion and NC State in the second round. For Our Indiana, I'm Zan Piarli.
As they had mentioned, IU men's soccer clinched the number 2 overall seed in the upcoming NCAA tournament. We're going to send it over to Zan now, who sits down with our guests, Eddie Cotton, Josh Eastern, and Michael Ramirez on this edition of Cream v. Crimson.
Welcome into Cream v. Crimson. I'm Zan Piarli. Today we're talking men's soccer as the Indiana Hoosiers earned the number 2 overall seed in the upcoming NCAA tournament. Joining me today is Eddie Cotton from Big Ten Network Student U, Josh Eastern, and Michael Ramirez from the Indiana Daily Student. Now, we know Indiana has an amazing defense, guys, only allowing 4 goals all season long. So looking ahead to the tournament, is there more pressure on the defense to keep playing this well or the offense to keep scoring more?
I think it's blatantly obvious it has to be the offense. You look at their last few games, it's always been that the defense has been stout consistently, and there have been a few issues with can Indiana break through offensively, and that's what you're going to be looking at moving forward in the tournament. Can Indiana find a goal when they need it?
I mean, defense wins championships, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be the defense. It's carried them this far, and I think the offense has really come along this entire season. Mason Toye, leading goal scorer for the team with 9 as just a freshman. But this defense, led by Grant Lillard, the All-American senior back there, he's been a rock alongside Timmy Mel. And this defense has been fantastic all year, obviously with their shutout streak, but I mean, it's the time of year where it's going to be cold, it's going to be tough to score. The defense has to step up.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Josh. But I'm gonna go ahead and go with Eddie here. Also, I'm gonna say it's on the offense. If they would have scored a goal, they would have won against Wisconsin. It's plain and simple. They obviously ended up losing on penalty kicks, but I mean, if you get a goal in there, Mason Toy hasn't scored in 4 games. He's on a 4-game goal scoring drought, and you mentioned Josh. He's the leading goal scorer. He needs to step up as well. I think all the pressure's on the offense right now. The defense has been stout for the whole season. It's time for the offense to produce. It's postseason time.
So for each of you, start with you, Michael. Who's one player that you think will break out for IU this NCAA tournament that really needs to be the key guy for this team throughout the tournament?
Well, I think who needs to break out is Mason Toy. Like I already said, he hasn't scored in 4 games. He last scored the game winner against Wisconsin in extra time. And, you know, obviously he's the leading goal scorer. He's one of the main contributors of scoring goals this season. So, I mean, he's been really vital down the stretch, especially in the middle of the season when he got red hot. You know, he's had a couple of braces as the season's gone along. He's stepped up in a lot of big games, and it's time for him to step up in the postseason as well. We haven't really seen him contribute too much to the team recently, so I think that he really needs to step up as far as postseason goes. Josh?
Andrew Gutman's got to be the guy. I mean, he scored against Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament. It was kind of a weird goal from outside the box, and the goalkeeper just kind of screwed up the save, honestly. But Andrew Gutman, early on in the season, he was scoring a lot of goals. He was tied with Mason Toy for a while for the goal-scoring lead, and all of a sudden, he just kind of stopped. I don't know what happened there, but he at left back is going to be very integral to this team, getting up those flanks, connecting with Griffin Dorsey and those attackers up top. It's going to be very crucial for Gutman to kind of get more involved in the offense and still come back on defense and be a good left back.
See, for me, I think the biggest star of this tournament run could be Corey Thomas, because you're looking at an NCAA tournament run that is going to be fueled with a lot of inexperienced guys out there. This team is run through freshmen a lot because of Griffin Dorsey and Mason Toy. So you're going to need an experienced guy to come through and play in that pivotal role. And Corey Thomas has been excellent as of late, scoring that game winner against Penn State. If he can keep it going, stay on that hot streak, he can really carry the Hoosiers.
Now, Indiana has home field advantage throughout until the College Cup if they make it that far. Who is one team in their quadrant of the bracket that will give them the most trouble in getting to that College Cup? Josh?
I'm going to go with Western Michigan. They're the 10 seed right now. I know they're kind of in that bracket with Maryland and Michigan State, so they may not even get out of that kind of quadrant of the bracket. But Western Michigan has some big wins this year against Big Ten teams. They kind of flew under the radar, and they've been in the top kind of 15 almost all season long. I know they play in the MAC, so not a great conference, but I mean they're the 10 seed for a reason. And I think if they get out and beat Michigan State and beat Maryland potentially, I think they could be a dangerous team for the Hoosiers.
I'm going to go with Michigan State just because IU struggled in the last game of the season in East Lansing, and it was for a Big Ten title, and they ended up not pulling it out even in extra time. You know, Michigan State has been really stout all season long. They've been one of the best teams. They've been in the top 15, top 10 pretty much the whole season. They're a really dangerous team, and now, I know they fell in the Big Ten tournament to Ohio State in the semifinal, or excuse me, the quarterfinals, but I think that they have a chance to get red hot late on in the postseason. And obviously you got teams like you already mentioned, Maryland in that same bracket as well. They could give IU troubles, but Michigan State is really a team that stands out for me because IU really struggled performance-wise against Michigan State, and they didn't score a goal, but also their defense caused some troubles. You know, Michigan State really got to their defense and down the flanks. They limited Griffin Dorsey all game long, which is one of the only times we've seen that this season. I think Michigan State could be really dangerous.
This might surprise you, but I think Indiana's biggest challenge could come from Maryland.
Yeah.
Because when you're looking at teams that have the ability to score a goal against Indiana, because there's not many, only 4 goals have been scored against Indiana all season, you're looking at superstars. Who's a talented player that can match up with Grant Lillard and get by him? And that's Graham Wild. And he is incredible. Maryland has been fluky as of late. They've struggled towards the end of the season, but you saw how much they challenged Indiana on the road to start this season. That draw in Maryland, I think they can really pull off a potential upset.
Yeah, Indiana drawing Maryland at the beginning of the season 0-0. Dane Sinclair in net for Maryland. Always a tough task to get by. Yeah. So quickly before you guys go, will Indiana get their 9th national championship, Eddie? Real quick.
I don't think so.
No?
No, I'm not willing to bet on that.
Josh?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, you got that defense, and if the offense comes along, it's going to be tough to stop them. So I guess we'll see. I'm going to say yes, though, going on the record.
We've seen Indiana play their best soccer in the middle of the season. They started kind of I don't want to say flame out, but they didn't play up to their expectations and their potential late in the season. They haven't been playing well as of late for their standards. I'm going to say yes, though. It's as hard as I want to say no, just because it's obviously one of the hardest things to do is to make it that far, win so many consecutive games. I think this IU team has potential to do it with their defense, and if they really anchor down on that back line, and if goal scorers start to get hot, like Mason Toy, like you already mentioned, Eddie, Corey Thomas, or Griffin Dorsey, if they can get on the score sheet, sky's the limit for this team.
I'm going to go ahead and say yes, why not? Give them that 9 star. So.
Got to get that final goal for the season.
Exactly. You got to love it. So thanks again, guys, for joining us on this edition of Cream v. Crimson. Joe and Dan, back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Ann. Now it's time to look ahead in the week in Hoosier sports. It's Fast Forward with Spencer Davis.
Thanks, guys. There are plenty of opportunities to watch the Hoosiers compete this week, and here are some you won't want to miss. The women's basketball team looks to build on its 2-0 start and add another home victory Friday night against Western Kentucky. Catch Tyra Buss wearing the cream and crimson while you still can, as the senior continues to add to her legacy. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m., and the game will air on BTN+. The number 1 ranked IU men's swimming and diving team will travel to West Lafayette along with the number 9 ranked IU women's swimming and diving team to compete in the Purdue Invitational on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. 5 full co-ed teams will be participating, and as many as 13 Olympians will be representing their universities. Now that he's got his first Big Ten victory under his belt, head football coach Tom Allen has a chance to grab his first home conference victory this Saturday. The Hoosiers kick off their home finale against Rutgers at noon in a must-win game if they intend to keep their bowl game hopes alive. You can watch the action, as always, on Big Ten Network. And the IU men's soccer team earned the number 2 overall seed in the NCAA men's soccer tournament with its stellar performance this year, and therefore received a bye in the first round. The Hoosiers will face the winner of Old Dominion and NC State for a second-round matchup on Sunday to begin their postseason quest for IU's 9th national soccer title. And that's all I have for you this week. But of course, if you miss any action, you can find it on IUHoosiers.com. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Spencer. Well, that does it for this episode of Our Indiana. I'm Dan Black.
And I'm Joe Canter. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Stay classy, Bloomington.